Hello and welcome to the Spokane County Spotlight. I'm Commissioner Mary Kuney and my guest today is Spokane City Councilwoman Betsy Wilkerson. We have a lot to cover in our program today. Our focus will be about the work Councilwoman Wilkerson is doing on the Spokane City Council, celebrating Black History Month and also recognizing February as Heart Health Month. First, I want to welcome Betsy to the program. Thank you for being here with us today, Betsy.
Thank you.
And before we get started, Betsy, for our audience, could you give us an overview of yourself and your background?
Well, it's quite an interesting journey. So I just want folks to know that back in 1963, my mom actually brought us here, me and my siblings, from West Point, Mississippi, kind of in the dream of Martin Luther King. She was looking for a better life. And so then I grew up in Spokane, graduated from Lewis and Clark High School, go Tigers, left, went to a HBCU, and then came back to Spokane in 1973. Came back with my two kids, got into banking, but then my mom's health failed and I took over our family business, which was established in 1976 and is a home for the mentally ill. And we've been doing that ever since. And I'm proud to continue that legacy. So going forward, that just brought me to grounded in community service. Both my parents were ministers, so I'm a PK kid, and so I have quite a legacy. I couldn't go anywhere without getting in trouble. So it's like, I'm going to tell your parents, but that's just kind of the culture of the Black community. So just coming to Spokane, reestablishing myself, becoming part of this community, engaged, raising my children. You know what? Spokane's a great place, and so I'm glad that I'm here and that I raised my kids here.
Well, thank you for sharing that because it is important. I similar, went, finished college here and then went off and came back because Spokane is a great place. So we appreciate, you being an elected official and helping to make Spokane better for the future for all of us.
Yeah, thank you.
So,
thank you.
Now you talked a little bit about your community service. So you and I actually first met years ago.
Years ago.
Years. We won't say how many years, but years ago when you were in the Junior League of Spokane. I think you started before I did, and then I joined. So can you tell me a little bit about the Junior League and then how that has helped you in your community service and what you've done with your community service?
Thanks, Mary. The Junior League, first of all, an amazing women's organization. And I will tell you, I came in the class of '89. And just to show you how progressive the Junior League has been over the years, they made a decision to invest in women of color. So they were really on the forefront of inclusivity and outreach. And when I came into the organization, there was a group of us, which we're still together today, and the Junior League was profound in my getting to where I am because there were some components. There was training, because I was just coming out of the community. I worked in my church, I had worked in Girl Scouts, but to get that formalized training, the training in leadership, because they invested in me, they actually put me through Leadership Spokane, went on, then the league provided relationships. And I think people forget how important relationships are on whatever level, but I found out it's especially important in government, is to really be able to communicate with the people who are doing the work. And so that is the foundation of a good organization. And so I am here today. I would chuckle sometimes because I look around Spokane and many of my Junior League sisters are in leadership today. And so when I have questions or problems, I'm able to actually pick up the phone. People still use the phone and call and reach out and say, hey, I got a problem, I got a question, can you help me? So volunteerism really, I think, is a big part of Spokane that's really not recognized as much as it should be, is what makes this a great city.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I know I attribute a lot of, my experience that I've done since Junior League to the training that we got in Junior League.
Yeah.
Learning how to run a meeting, having an agenda, sticking to that agenda, And it is a sisterhood. I mean, there is several, ladies, just like yourself. Candace Mumm, Councilwoman
Yes.
Candace Mumm is another, alumni with us.
Yes.
Sustainer, I guess we call them in junior league.
Yes.
But, and I'm on a board with Hutton Settlement that has several junior league members from our day.
Absolutely.
And it is, you can call and talk to them anytime and just be able to bounce ideas off. So I know we've done that ourselves.
We've done that ourselves, Mary. And, I look at that. I don't think when we were in the junior league that we would ever have envisioned ourselves in these two chairs here today. But you know what? Opportunity and preparation, you just never know where that leads. And the call.
Yes, it truly is a calling.
It is a calling. We just need to answer, or more people need to answer the call.
Yes.
That's my plug for community service today. Answer the call.
There you go. Thank you. I appreciate that. So that talks about community service, but now let's talk about your role as a councilwoman. So what does the day in the life of being at the city council look like for you?
I have to tell you, when I was appointed a year ago, January, so my first year anniversary in serving, I knew that it was a significant time commitment, but Mondays are our longest days. It's like 8 to 9 o'clock from the morning till the night. But the other commitments of boards and committees, I currently serve on 15 different boards and committees. And then the other part is the neighborhoods. In District 2, there are 13 neighborhood councils. And I really try to stay engaged with them because it's the grassroots level that you really get what's going on in the community. So between that and writing policy, and as you know, we just finished our budget for the city of Spokane, which was a Herculean lift in these economic times that we are in due to COVID. But at the end of the day, Mary, my day I like it to be punctured with people. There's always another meeting, but people gives me the passion as to why I'm doing what I'm doing. Their needs are important. And I think for most electeds, we do it because we really want to make a difference. And we have to stay connected to the people we make a difference to. So meetings, and more meetings. I would think a good week would be about 55 hours a week, but normally that doesn't happen very often. So it is a full-time position. It says part-time, but it's a full-time commitment to the community to do the work.
I couldn't agree more. And I think truly when you care and you're really trying to do what's right for the citizens, it really is a full-time and beyond commitment.
And beyond.
Because you're always listening, you're always trying to understand so you can make those good decisions.
And learning. And really things are evolving so quickly now in the times that we're in. The information is changing, and just trying to stay educated on the decisions that we have to make, that in itself can be challenging.
Yes.
So I know. But at the end of the day, I know you and me, the question is, what's in the best interest of the people we serve? If it doesn't make sense for the people we're helping, then I don't care how much data is behind it. It doesn't make sense. So.
Yeah, and I think you and I both understand that there's a certain gut check that we have to do. So,
There is a gut check.
Having that, citizen input and understanding, the needs helps you with that.
Yeah, it does. And Mary, and we both reflect on, it's the needs of everybody. We have to make sure that people are not being left out, or even feeling like they're being left out. Maybe they're not, but if they feel that way, then we got more work to do.
No.
We got more work to do.
Very true. So the next question I have for you, as you think about, what your work is and how you do it is, in light of COVID, 19 and the pandemic, how is that affected? Because you started before, you were appointed before, and then this pandemic came upon us. So how has that changed for you?
Well, I have to say, COVID was the great equalizer, because I was appointed in January. COVID hit March 20th. It's a date that will live in my mind forever. And so there was no playbook for that. So we all were like starting from scratch. It's like, none of us knew really what to do. And so a lot of things where the expectation was that I would just come in and hit the ground running. Well, yeah, I did. I hit the ground running because of COVID, but it changed how business was done.
Right.
The biggest challenge was, I had a couple of city council meetings in person, and then they were all on Zoom. The change was I couldn't shake anybody's hand, which is such an inherent part of who we are. But how we had to do business and look at things different was really challenging, because all the municipalities, all governments, schools, like everybody, it wasn't just City Hall or wasn't just the county.
Right.
We were all like trying to figure this out. It was like flying the plane while you were learning to fly the plane. That's kind of what I felt like. Or
Yes.
they would say, drinking from the fire hose going forward. So, but I think, Mary, it really opened doors because it allowed us to do business differently. I know there are some processes in place, that's government, but this allowed us we can't do it that way.
Right.
And then we had to do it faster. So where it would take us a year to come to a decision, we had to make decisions pretty quickly. And that whole partnership and how to spend CARES dollars and where does that go? Who does that impact? Who's going to do it? All those questions were just coming fast and furious. And so my colleagues on council, we had to really put our heads together, along with the county, because we were all in this together, as to how to address these issues. So COVID was the key that we can do things differently and we can do things faster than what we had done in the past. And other people were invited in. That was also, I think, just so important, because there were communities that hadn't been asked. And in order for us all to succeed, Mary, we liked all hands on deck.
Right.
And it's only been a year. It seems like a lifetime, though, doesn't it?
No, it does.
It seems like a lifetime.
No.
So that really impacted our work, but really how to get resources out there quickly to the people in the community and who we partnered with to do that work.
Right.
I will say I serve on the Anovia Foundation board, and they were a huge partner in helping us disperse those CARES dollars out in our community. And there were other nonprofits that sometimes government would drag their feet in partnering with them, but we knew we couldn't do it by ourselves. And they came on willingly and stepped up and took on that challenge. And we have to commend the whole community. Government, we did a pretty good job, I would say.
No, I agree. And it was really everybody coming together and really doing what was right for the community as a whole.
Absolutely.
And so I appreciate that, because I feel the same way, that it definitely took a change for all of us, but we were able to think differently and in new innovative ways, and to really come together and do what was right.
Absolutely.
So.
And people were empowered.
Yes.
That was another feeling coming from the community who wanted to be part of the solutions and the outcomes for the people they were serving too. And so it's like, no, you're important. Please come join us. Please come join us. We need more hands.
Yes. So, just to keep moving along here, we're going to be, we're settling into February now, and we recognize that this is Black History Month. And so could you start to express, what that means to you?
Mary, it's important. We are, first of all, in historical times in our country. And we've seen a lot of images that we thought we would never see in our lifetime. But for Black history, a lot of what Blacks contributed was not included in our history because we weren't writing it. And so now I feel it's more important than ever to not rewrite history, but to expand on history, to bring not only blacks, but other marginalized communities into it for their contributions that made America what it is. They helped make America great. And so I just wanted to really recognize that, and that Spokane, sometimes we say little old Spokane, really did some amazing things culturally for the blacks in this area. And I just wanted to remind us, yes, we have great leadership at our national level and our state level, but we had great leaders of color from right here in Spokane. And I just wanted to name off a couple just to remind people. And some people may not even know that some of these people exist. There was a couple of things I didn't even know myself. So I thought, Betsy, shame on you. So I want to speak first about an African-American man. His name was Peter Barrow, came from Mississippi. That's where I'm from. He came here in 1889, and he was an entrepreneur, and he started the first irrigated apple orchard up on the north side of Spokane. History says that's about where Northtown is today. He also helped found the Calvary Baptist Church, which is located right across the street from Goodwill. It's still there today. He was its first pastor. And also what history said was Calvary Baptist Church was also the home of the first African American community center, named after Booker T. Washington, who had made a stop in Spokane to raise money for the Tuskegee Institute. I know, like,
Yes,
fascinating.
it is.
Fascinating that someone, Booker T. Washington, came to Spokane, Washington.
Yeah.
I know. There was another African American male in 1888, Emmett Hercules Holmes. I'm thinking he must have been a big man, and his mom named him Hercules. And his family too moved here from Mississippi, and he found work on the railroad as a porter and a bellhop. But history said he went on, he eventually became Spokane County's deputy treasurer.
Oh, wow.
I know. I thought, I don't think many people knew that.
No.
And this was an African American male. He also went on to help establish the Bethel AME Church, which is located over in the Perry District. They have gone on to build a community center over there. So people who came and started something in Spokane that has left these lasting legacies that have played a great part. Calvary Baptist Church and the Bethel AME Church are like two pillars in the black community in Spokane. So I want to recognize them. Then after World War II, our population ticked up, in part due to Fairchild Air Force Base. It brought a lot of people of color here, and our leadership started to change. So, of course, he's infamous, Carl Maxey, graduate of Gonzaga University, first African American to pass the bar in Eastern Washington, went on to be renowned for trying the case, the haircut hiccup. So where this black student from Liberia wanted a haircut, Spokane, he couldn't get one. And Carl sued, and that was what was his first recognized trial. People went on to call him the Martin Luther King of Washington State. Today, there is a community center being built in his honor in East Central that will continue social justice, economic development, inclusion for people in that neighborhood, and help lift it up, and also to recognize what he did, Mary. Pretty important. Of
He was
course,
a great man.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
Then we had Roberta Green, our first African-American woman to serve on council. She served 2 terms, and I heard that there was chatter before we went to our strong mayor form of government that they were putting her forward to run for mayor.
Wow.
I have to admit, she was my mentor. We've been in the same church for years, and I watched her on her journey in public service. Then here I am,
Yes.
2020, appointed the second black woman to serve on city council. I am extremely honored and humbled by that. And I recognize the responsibility that that brings with it. to be the shoulders that others stand on, as the ones who've gone before me. So I want Spokane to know we have our history here. And if we don't remind ourselves of that, we got some strong roots to build on.
We do. So what are some of the events that are happening for Black History Month that you can tell our audience?
Well, there's one I really want to promote, shamelessly, I will say. The Carl Maxey Center, the Downtown Partnership, and the Hispanic Business Professional Association will be doing a pop-up bazaar in Riverfront Park at the end of February. We're nailing down the dates. It'll be the 26th or 27th, so please pay more attention to that coming. And we're doing that for two reasons. First of all, to give those minority businesses a platform, to let Spokane know that they are here and how diverse our community is. I remind folks, District 81 has 79 different languages in its school system. Well, those children have to have parents somewhere. So we want to elevate these minority businesses, let Spokane know that there is diversity here and that they are part of the glue that really makes Spokane special. And I think that will be a great start going forward. Coming out of what we've been in, people talk a lot about healing. It's healing, but it's also inclusion. And so I think that will be exciting, and it will be new.
No, I'm very excited.
I
will be attending.
That's great.
Thank you. So thank you for that Spokane history lesson. I really appreciate that. And I hope that serves as a reminder of the impact that Black leaders have had on our community. And hopefully it can inspire us to keep those people in mind as we move forward into the future. February also marks the 57th consecutive year of American Heart Month. I'd like to visit with you about the heart disease in the Black community, as well as just in general. It's a very important topic, you know, with it being February being Heart Health Month. And I know you have ties to the Heart Association.
I do.
I'd love to hear your thoughts and what you can, you know, let our viewers know.
Well, thank you for that. Well, first of all, my ties to the Heart Association, who's been forward thinking in health. So I worked for them years ago, and the Heart Association started what we call today the wellness programs. So we had wellness in a box, and we would promote that to businesses throughout Eastern Washington, just things that people could do in the workplace, exercise, posters, groups coming together, how to stay healthy. But I want to speak about heart disease for everybody, because as you discussed, the numbers are pretty similar across the board. And I want to, first of all, say, with COVID, it's been more important than ever to acknowledge because of the fear and the access to health care. But heart disease, my mom passed through cardiovascular disease. You know, she was in her 80s, had not had real good access to health care just coming up through time. So we will talk about access to health care. But there are a lot of myths out there about heart disease, that it only affects men. Buzz, no, it affects women too. The other myth is, well, my parents had it, so therefore I'm going to have it. Buzz, that's not true either. And that heart disease only affects men. Buzz, that's not true either. And what is very disconcerting is how early heart disease is starting to happen in our children based on lifestyles. You know, lack of activity, diet. Those are things that we as a community and a country will really have to address more intensely than what we have going forward. Because otherwise we're going to have a nation of unhealthy people, and then how will that impact everything we do, from economic development to advancement to our militaries going forward. So heart disease, I know they're going to put up soon the signs and symptoms. Let's be aware. So shortness of breath, you know, maybe a pain. It affects women differently. Sometimes women have pain in their arms, where men have pain in their chest. So let's be cognizant of that. I just want people to forget heart disease is still the #1 killer.
It is, and I can say I lost both of my parents to that disease.
Yes.
You know, my dad from an instant heart attack and my mom from congestive heart failure.
Yes.
So it's something we really have to pay attention to for all of us.
We do. And Mary, we both know it's different for everybody.
It is.
So when people say, well, that's not how it happened for me, well, truly I wouldn't expect it to happen that way for you. There are some similarities in the disease, but as each human being is unique, how it affects us is unique also. So I have to also say right now, I have to acknowledge the Spokane Regional Health District and their part that they have played in outreach to the community of color around smoking cessation. That's a big issue. They have brought speakers to our community. For that, I'm pretty pleased, and I just want to acknowledge their contribution.
Yeah, and there's so many organizations that are doing great work, you know, to get the word out. And again, I think we can say, if you're having any of those symptoms, call 911 and go to the hospital. I know with COVID, there's been a fear of people going to the hospital, but you need to get help. You know, if you're having those symptoms, just have it checked out and get help.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So Councilwoman, I've enjoyed our discussion. It's like we're getting to the end, and so I want to thank our viewers today for being here with us, but I'm afraid we've run out of time. So I'd like to thank my guest, Spokane City Councilwoman Betsy Wilkerson, for joining us today. As a reminder, a video of today's Spotlight can be accessed on our Spokane County homepage and our Spokane County YouTube channel. You can also listen and go and download our Spokane County Spotlights as a podcast on the SoundCloud or iTunes apps. Just go to one of those apps and search for Spokane County. I'm Spokane County Commissioner Mary Kuney. Thank you for joining us today on the Spokane County Spotlight.